It's time to talk football with, I believe he just got back from Germany, the great Peter King with us on 95.7 The Game. How are you, Peter? How was Deutschland?
Whitey, I got back from Germany last night, and I'm sitting here enjoying one of the great football games of this season. The Ohio Bobcats, my alma mater, 14-3 over Ball State in the second quarter. And if the Bobcats win this one, we play for the East Division Championship next week against Bowling Green. So how does that sound? Is that exciting to everybody on the West Coast?
And that is the best football game that's ever been played. He was asking that earlier.
Hey,
that's
I'll
it.
Tell you.
We don't need to ask anybody else.
Yeah, we were talking about the Bills and Vikings as maybe the greatest game ever, Peter.
No, you
Oh
were.
my God, that was unbelievable. But I saw a really good game on Sunday at 6:30 in the morning Pacific time out in Munich. The Tampa Bay beating Seattle, which obviously was good news for 49ers fans. But you know what was really cool about it? And I don't mean to be a rah-rah NFL guy here at all, but holy crap, that week was so cool. The game was phenomenally fun. And, in Europe, you don't have a press box. You're not hermetically sealed in a warm place. We froze. It was 47 or 48 degrees and we're sitting in our seats in the stands for 5 hours, and anyway, but what was so cool about that is, guy 2 rows in front of us is puking drunk. Well, that's okay. You're experiencing what the fans experience. And, in the fourth quarter, this crowd of 69,000, every person in the crowd is standing up, howling the words to "Take Me Home, Country Roads." And just everything about it was just a cool event. And as I wrote Monday in my column, the NFL is most likely to sign a contract with the Bundesliga, the German Soccer Federation. And they signed a contract with German authorities to play 4 games in a 4-year span, 22 to 25. Well, they played 1 this year, and I'm here to tell you it's very likely they're going to play 2 next year and at least 1 in each of the following years. But I think both Kansas City and New England will take one of their home games next year and play either in Frankfurt or Munich. So everything about it was kind of fun, and I think it was greeted so well, so enthusiastically that the NFL is pretty encouraged about playing more games there.
Peter King with us on 95.7 The Game. Is there any way to tell, Peter, when you look at the football fans, their NFL fans in Germany, how many of them are expats and how many of them are actual Germans that are just in love with the American game? I know that was not what you went there to determine, but did you get any sense of where that
there's an absolute S-load of people born, raised in Germany who have adopted this game.
Wow.
And there's a guy who I spent some time with both on Saturday and Sunday, who is the president of the German, it's called the Seahawkers Club, and it's the big fan club in Germany. And what was really, really interesting is after the game, and he's from Bad Homburg, Germany, and what's really interesting is that he was not angry that the Seahawks lost the game. He was euphoric that Germany supported this game the way it did. And look, when these tickets went on sale in summer, it sold out in 1 minute. And by that I mean that it sold out essentially, right when the tickets started to sell. And there were 800,000 people in the queue, and obviously 700,000 plus didn't get tickets. But anyway, I guess I don't have any idea how many people there were American, how many people were German. But this sport in Germany. I mean, soccer obviously, clearly, far and away is number one. I would be surprised if any sport in Germany was more popular than football beyond soccer. And I believe that this game and this week basically said to the NFL that, hey, Germany now is probably number 2 behind England.
Wow.
In support of NFL football. So, we'll see what happens down the road, but it was a successful weekend.
A couple of questions. First of all, was the puking drunk in front of you one of the Glazers? And secondly...
No, but hey, Ray, I have to tell you, I was coming back from dinner on Friday night, and we passed the Seahawks bar in Marienplatz, which is a really nice neighborhood in Munich. And there was a guy leaning over a planter with a DK Metcalf jersey, just puking his guts out. And some guy behind him said, yelled from the back, "Hey, dude, it's only 9 o'clock. Come on." And so these are some tough drinkers over there. That was not one of the Glazers in front of me at the game, but ask your second question.
Okay, well, the second question is now, was the guy who was throwing up that you just described John Schneider?
No, I was asked if it was DK Metcalf. I put his picture in my column. He definitely was not built like DK Metcalf in any way, shape, or form. But no, I don't think he was John Schneider. I texted with Schneider when he was there, but I don't think he was out at the Seahawks bar on Friday night.
I think you missed a story there.
Yeah, I did.
The serious question: Did the NFC by Washington beating Philadelphia become more winnable for anybody other than them or the other than Philadelphia or the Vikings? And by that I mean, do the 49ers have a puncher's chance of being even second or third in that conference if they get all their stuff tipped together?
I mean, they certainly have a chance of being third because, right now they're a half game out of being third. Well, a game, but really a half game because they have a tiebreaker edge over Seattle. It looks like Philadelphia and Minnesota one of those will be the first seed, one will be the second. But look, things change so quickly down the stretch of seasons like this. Like, for instance, I think one of the interesting parts of this season is that, we're only 2 weeks removed from the Buffalo Bills being 6-1 and nobody having any doubt that they were going to be the first seed and the AFC Championship was going to be going through Buffalo. Well, now they're 6-3. They're the 6th seed in the AFC, and there's 2 teams in their division mathematically right now in front of them, Miami and the Jets. And the New England Patriots are only 1 game behind them, and they play them in 2 weeks in New England. So that's why this time of year it's kind of silly to project a lot. But in my opinion, if you look at their schedule and you look at where they are right now with theoretically Deebo Samuel getting healthy, look, they have some tough games coming up. They have Miami and Tampa at home in consecutive weeks, and then they're at Seattle, which, I think Seattle is really pretty good and is going to be heard from down the stretch. And look, this is a good time of year, around November turning to December, to have 4 out of 5 at home. And New Orleans, Miami, Tampa home, at Seattle, and then Washington home. That's an advantageous schedule because essentially after going to Arizona this week, San Francisco basically stays close to home just about for the rest of the season. So I think the schedule kind of worked out in their favor, number one. But, I also think that, look, Seattle has not played the Rams yet, and San Francisco played the Rams twice, and the Rams were most likely better than what Seattle will face. Because obviously Seattle's going to play the Rams at least once and maybe twice without Cooper Kupp. And, who knows about the health of Matthew Stafford. And obviously San Francisco's played them twice. But I think Seattle has a slight advantage in the schedule, even though Seattle's got to go to Kansas City, and that's the toughest game that either team down the stretch has to face.
Peter King with us on 95.7 The Game. It's Damon and Ratto. Whitey in for Damon today. Peter, where are you with the state of the 49er offense? Some people were expecting more points to be scored against the Chargers, and Jimmy Garoppolo says we had success running the ball. We won the game. Michael Irvin was on the station yesterday saying the 49ers are more physical than explosive, and that's more important. Is that how you see the 49er offense, more physical than explosive? Are we going to see them score a lot more points, or is that really counter to their ultimate philosophy?
I think Kyle Shanahan is going to coach down the stretch the way Bill Belichick coaches every week, which is, I have said this about Belichick, that every game plan is a snowflake. You have absolutely no idea what you're going to see one week to the next. It was different when you had Tom Brady and Randy Moss, back in 2006, and they're going 16-0. It's a lot different because now, and forget the Patriots, but now you look at the 49ers, they don't have a mad bomber quarterback with an unstoppable offense. Okay? What they have is they have an offense that runs the ball well, and you would think that down the stretch Christian McCaffrey is going to be running it more than he has in his early times in his first 3 games with the 49ers. But they have a team that I think can run the ball pretty well when necessary. Okay? And right now, I guess I look at this team throwing the ball and I say it's a work in progress, because I still think we have not seen yet what Christian McCaffrey is going to be as a pass catcher out of the backfield. And I fully admit right now, I saw not one single snap of the Chargers game. It was not on TV in my hotel room at 2:00 in the morning in Munich. So I did not see anything, but I watched that little YouTube highlight package of 13 minutes. And the one thing that interested me out of that little highlight package was the fact that I thought the 49ers did just what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it against the Chargers. Because, to me, this is not a team that is going to be, even though it has Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk, kind of a resurgent Ayuk, this is not a team that's going to make its living, with a bunch of deep strikes. I think it's going to be making a living ball control. And I think the only other thing I would say just in general is that I think everybody is probably complaining about where they are on offense right now. I totally get that. But I also think when you understand where this team is and what they're trying to do, they're trying to get Christian McCaffrey up and running in a new offense and making sure that he's a big factor every game. So that's why I think this is going to take, at Arizona, New Orleans, Miami, this is going to take a few games to understand exactly what they can do with Christian McCaffrey.
You mentioned earlier that Kyle Shanahan, you would expect, is going to treat every game the way Bill Belichick treats them, which is every game is different, every idea is different. You start over from scratch almost. How many other coaches in this league do that? Because it seems like most of them have a philosophy that they do not deviate from. And I think for the most part, people believe that Kyle Shanahan is among those coaches. So if he is indeed one of those guys, who else is there?
I think Bill Belichick definitely is one. But I think you can't necessarily here's the way I would more ask the question, Ray. I mean, if you watch Bill Belichick now, if you watch the Patriots now, and clearly, you don't understand what a coach is going through until you see the assets that he has to, the assets he has to work with. And so, like, if you're Andy Reid, I can tell you right now that Andy Reid is not going to be one of those coaches because he's got Patrick Mahomes. And for the most part, guys who have great quarterbacks are not going to be those kind of coaches who have a snowflake of a game plan every single week. Okay? And so, if Kyle Shanahan, had Dan Marino as his quarterback, I don't think we'd be having this discussion because he'd be throwing it 42 times a week and he'd be throwing it downfield 25 times a week. So I think I would say that, but I would say that 2 or 3 other coaches who honestly, for every snowflake or every game plan is a snowflake. I think Pete Carroll is like that right now, and Shane Waldron is his offensive coordinator. So he's the one who has to put those game plans together. I think definitely Arthur Smith is in Atlanta right now. And I think the one other team that is interesting in that regard is the Philadelphia Eagles, because they have found out right now that Miles Sanders can control the game himself, and they don't necessarily have to go to this deep strike offense all the time. So I'd say those are 3 or 4 coaches that, in my mind, are willing, when they finish their work on Tuesday night and they have everything in the bag, on Tuesday night, my gut feeling is those coaches are the ones who can come out and really believe that they can play any way and win the game.
Peter King with us on 95.7 The Game. He's just back from Germany. Peter, fairly or unfairly, I'm going to ask you to gaze into your crystal football and tell us, in your opinion, how likely is it that 2-3 seasons from now, the 49ers will be saying, wow, we probably should have taken Justin Fields?
I think every team in that draft is going to be saying that in 3 or 4 years. I think that's a very fair question. And, somebody asked me today on one of these shows, do you believe that Trent Baalke and the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, knowing what they know, would have picked Justin Fields with the first pick in the draft? And I said, well, wait a second. I think we have to answer the question this way. I don't know that they would have picked Justin Fields with the first pick in the draft, but what I feel pretty confident in saying is if they knew what we know now, then they would have traded down and gotten a lot of value for somebody wanting to trade up, for Trevor Lawrence, and they would have taken Justin Fields. And again, I don't think there's any need or any reason whatever to trash Trevor Lawrence. I just think in the last month, the best player in the NFL has been Justin Fields. And, there's no shame in saying the reason Justin Fields has been the best player in football is very simple, that the coaching staff of the Chicago Bears has realized, first of all, we do not have a great receiving core for Justin Fields to work with. We have a decent receiving core with one really good receiver in Darnell Mooney, but we don't have a great receiving core. So I look at it and I say, essentially, if you're going to ask the question like that, you have to say, who would they rather have on their team and what would they have done? And I think, of course, anybody looking at this team right now would much rather have Justin Fields than any quarterback in this draft.
All right, Peter King, before we let you go, just kind of a fun one. At least I think it's fun. I don't think Ray's enjoying it that much. But as I mentioned, we were talking about the Vikings-Bills game as one of the greatest games of all time. Just very back and forth, highly entertaining. So if NASA were sending some time capsule into space and they figured an alien race is going to find it someday. And we want, among other things, we want there to be a recording of the greatest football game of all time, the greatest example of NFL football. And they came to you, Peter, and said, "You're the guy. You're the man to ask. Which game should we include here? What's top of your mind? Top of mind? What do you got?"
Well, I would first ask the question: is the magnitude of the game at all important, or is it simply the game? If the magnitude of the game is important, I would tell them to put a tape or a video of the Patriots coming back from 28-3 down to beat Atlanta in the Super Bowl. But honestly, for weirdness, you know what you would have to do, quite honestly, with this game on Sunday, what you really would have to do is you'd have to put an interpreter and somebody to explain, well, wait a second, what happened on that play at the goal line where all of a sudden everybody is jumping up and down on Minnesota and the referee is saying that it's a touchdown for Minnesota? How did that happen? What happened? What do you mean he fumbled? I don't see a fumble. So, I mean, you would have to put somebody on this spacecraft, but I don't know how you can get much better than that game. I'm kind of in mourning that I missed the vast majority of this game and only saw the end of it. And I saw the end of it in my hotel room in downtown Munich, listening to two German announcers having no idea what anybody was saying other than when the Buffalo field goal kicker tied it to send it to overtime with a field goal with 7 seconds left or whatever it was. The play-by-play guy screamed at the top of his lungs, "Holy moly." So then I really knew we were seeing something. If somebody in Munich, 6,000 miles away from the action, is screaming "Holy moly," that must mean that something really happened.
And if you couldn't shoot a game into space for the aliens, but you could shoot a team, would it be the Raiders?
They would be fun to be in space because I have a feeling they might be arguing and they might be a little bit at each other's throats. And there probably would be some tears, which aliens, I think, really, really like. They love tears. They love crying.
All right. Peter, thank you. Welcome home. Thank you so much for your time. So, back from Germany, you're not going to join the 49ers and the Cardinals in Mexico City this week, Monday night? You're not going to go to...
No,
Okay.
I need to... Look, I'm 65 years old. One road trip of 11,000 miles round trip in about a month is enough. I think this will be enough for me.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, guys.